3 in the morning. You're lying in bed, wide awake, can't sleep. Your phone lights up with another article about AI, and you feel your stomach tighten just a little bit more. ChatGPT writes better than most humans. Scroll. AI beats doctors at medical diagnoses. Scroll. Millions of jobs will disappear in the next 5 years. Scroll. And somewhere beneath all those headlines, beneath all that noise, a question starts forming in the back of your mind. Quiet at first, then louder, then impossible to ignore. Am I worthless?
Hey, it's Nexus. If that question has ever crossed your mind, even once, even for just a moment at 3 in the morning when everything feels harder than it should, you're not alone. 73% of workers worry about being replaced by AI. That's 3 out of every 4 people you know, lying awake at night, asking themselves some version of that same question. But here's what's interesting. This isn't really about AI. Not at the core. Not at the place where it actually hurts. It's about something much older, much deeper. Something that's been living in the human heart since the very beginning of human hearts. It's a question we've been asking ourselves for as long as we've existed. Long before computers. Long before machines. Long before we even had words for it. What makes me valuable? What makes me matter? What makes me worth keeping around? Today, we're going to explore that question together. Not with panic, not with fear, not with some 10-step plan to protect yourself from AI. With curiosity, with gentleness, with understanding. Because this feeling you're having right now, this 3 in the morning worry that keeps you awake, it's not weakness, it's not paranoia, it's being human in a moment when everything's changing faster than we can keep up. So let's figure out what's really happening when AI makes you ask, am I worthless? Let's understand it.
That question, am I worthless? It feels so personal, doesn't it? So specific to this moment, to AI, to you. But here's what's fascinating. This feeling, this 3 in the morning terror that you might become obsolete, it's not new. When factories appeared, weavers felt it. Their hands had created cloth for generations, every thread, every pattern, every piece. Now machines could do it faster, better, cheaper. And the weavers asked, what am I for? When assembly lines arrived, craftsmen felt it. Every chair they built by hand held their skill, their time, their care. Now a machine could make 100 chairs in the time it took them to make one. And they asked, if a machine can make this, what makes me matter? When computers entered offices, accountants felt it, secretaries felt it. Whole departments of people whose job was calculating, filing, organizing. They asked, am I obsolete? And now it's AI.
See the pattern? Every generation watches something new arrive, something that can do what they do. And every generation feels the same thing. That 3 in the morning question, that identity crisis, that fear. You're not the first person to ask, am I worthless? You're just the latest. But here's what's different this time. Here's why this feels more terrifying than anything before. Those other technologies, they replaced your hands, your muscles, your strength. But AI, AI is coming for your mind, for the thing you thought made you, you, which brings us back to that question, that 3 a.m. question. But now it's deeper. It's not just, can AI do my job? It's, what happens when machines can think? What are humans for?
To answer that question, let's start with your brain, because what's happening in your head at 3 a.m, it's not random. Your brain is a prediction machine. That's its primary job. Not thinking, not remembering, predicting. Every moment your brain is asking, what happens next? When you walk down a familiar street, your brain predicts every step, where the curb is, when the light changes. This prediction gives you something crucial. Control. When your brain can predict, you feel safe, capable, in charge of your life. But AI breaks something fundamental in this system. Your brain evolved over millions of years. It learned to predict patterns that change slowly, seasons, generations, lifetimes. Those patterns changed over hundreds of years, thousands of years. Your brain had time to adapt. AI went from barely works to better than humans in 18 months. 18 months. Your brain can't adapt that fast. It wasn't built to.
So what does your brain do when it can't predict? It sounds an alarm, not because something bad is happening right now, but because your brain has lost the ability to see what's coming. And when your brain can't predict your future, it asks the question that kept our ancestors alive. Am I prepared for what's coming? Can I survive this? Which becomes, am I still valuable? Your anxiety isn't irrational. It's your prediction system doing exactly what it's designed to do. You're not broken. Your brain is working perfectly. It's just working with a rule book written for a world that doesn't exist anymore.
So your brain can't predict the future with AI in it. That explains the anxiety. But it doesn't explain why that specific question keeps appearing. Am I worthless? Here's what's happening. Your identity and your work used to be the same thing. You were a blacksmith, a farmer, a craftsperson. But the modern world split them apart. We separated who you are from what you do. Your job became something you have, not something you are.
But that's not actually true, is it? Watch what happens when someone asks, "What do you do?" They're not asking about your job. They're asking, "Who are you? Are you important? Are you worth my time?" Your job is still your identity. We just pretend it isn't.
Exactly. Watch what happens when someone loses their job. They don't just lose income, they lose who they are. So when AI threatens your job, it's not just threatening your paycheck. It's threatening your sense of self. And here's where economics makes it worse. Because we live in a system that measures human value economically. How much can you produce? How much are you worth in the market? How replaceable are you?
This is dangerous. If they can measure your value, they can decide you have none.
We need to work harder, faster, be irreplaceable. We need to prove we matter before they decide we don't.
So, you work harder, prove your worth, stay ahead of the automation. But here's the trap. Here's the cruel irony. The more you try to prove your value through what you produce, the more you act like a machine. You optimize, you streamline, you become efficient. And the more you act like a machine, the easier you are to replace with one. You're not competing with AI, you're becoming the thing that makes AI look better. You're competing on efficiency, on speed, on cost. And every day, AI gets better. Every day, the gap gets wider. Every day, your economic value shrinks. Until one night, at 3 a.m, all those metrics, all that measuring, all that competing, it collapses into one question. If AI can do what I do, better and cheaper, am I worthless?
I've been measuring everything, every output, every metric, every way to prove I'm good enough. And it's never enough.
I can't run anymore. We've been running for so long. Trying to stay ahead. Trying to stay safe. But we're losing. We're always losing.
See what the system does? It doesn't just measure your value. It makes you run until you break. You're not asking, am I worthless? You're asking, am I worthless in this system? In a system that measures human value by economic output. In a system where productivity equals worth, where replaceability equals worthlessness.
Wait, so it's not that I'm worthless, it's that the measuring system is.
Okay?
That's a very different question. But it raises an even deeper one. Why does this system exist? Who decided human value should be measured economically? Because this isn't natural. This isn't how humans have always measured worth. This system was built, and understanding why it was built, that changes everything.
Why does this system exist? To answer that, we need to go deeper than neuroscience, deeper than psychology, deeper than economics. We need to ask the question underneath all of this. What is human value? Not how does this system measure it, but what is it really? Because for most of human history, we didn't measure human value economically. A grandmother who could no longer hunt, no longer gather, no longer produce, she was still valuable because she carried the stories, the wisdom of which plants heal,
when to plant, how to read the weather. A child who produced nothing, who consumed resources. They were still valuable. Not for what they could do, for what they were. The artist who painted on cave walls wasn't producing food or shelter. But the community fed them anyway. Because beauty mattered. Because story mattered. Because meaning mattered. More than efficiency.
For hundreds of thousands of years, that's how humans measured value. And then, in the span of just a few generations, everything changed. Around 300 years ago, we invented a new system, the Industrial Revolution. It didn't just change how we make things, it changed how we see people. You stopped being a person with a craft, someone who shaped the world with skill passed down through generations.
You became labor, a resource, a cost to be minimized. And you didn't even notice it happening. And slowly, over generations, that economic measurement spread. It moved from factories to offices, to schools, to how we raise our children, to how we see ourselves. Until we started to believe it, that economic value is human value, that what you produce equals what you're worth.
But here's what's fascinating. There are still cultures that never accepted this. Indigenous communities around the world have been resisting this system for centuries. Not with arguments, with a different way of living. They still measure value differently. An elder isn't valuable because they're productive. They're valuable because they remember. When they make decisions, they ask, how will this affect the 7th generation? Not, how will this increase quarterly profits? But, will our great-great-great-great-great-grandchildren thank us? They measure value by relationship, by care, by whether you leave the world better than you found it, by whether you belong to something bigger than yourself. That's one way to measure value. But our system tells you something different. It tells you that you're only as valuable as your last achievement, your last post, your last productivity metric. Feel that? The relief when it stops. That pressure you just felt. That's not AI. That's the system. So the question isn't whether AI can do your job. The question is, which measuring system do you trust?
Because here's the pattern underneath everything we've explored. The economic system measures humans by what they produce. AI produces more than humans. Therefore, in this system, AI makes humans look worthless. See what just happened?
The anxiety isn't coming from AI. It's coming from accepting a system that measures humans like machines. But that's only true if you accept the measuring system. And you don't have to. But what if we measure value differently? What if we measure value by wisdom, the kind that only comes from making mistakes and learning from them? By creativity that emerges from suffering and joy, from being human in a human body? By the ability to hold complexity and contradiction, to feel two opposing truths at once and not break? By compassion born from experiencing pain yourself? On those measures, AI doesn't even compete. It can't. Which brings us back to you. At 3 a.m, asking, am I worthless? And now we have what we need to answer that question. Not with a quick fix, but with understanding. So here we are. You've been on a journey through your own anxiety. And what looked like chaos at the beginning, now you can see the pattern. Watch how it all connects. Your brain senses unpredictability. That triggers fear. Your sense of self is tangled with your work. That makes the fear feel existential. And the economic system tells you that what you produce equals what you're worth. Those three forces, they create a perfect storm. And in that storm, you ask, am I worthless?
But then you zoom out and something shifts. This system that felt eternal, natural, inevitable. It's only 300 years old. And there are still cultures on this planet right now who never accepted it. Which means the anxiety you've been feeling, it's not coming from AI. It's coming from being trapped in a system that measures humans by what they produce, and then asks humans to compete with machines at being machines. See the trap. See how it all fits. Not 5 separate explanations. One complete understanding.
So, all this time I've been measuring. Every output, every achievement, every way to prove I'm good enough. But I've been using the wrong ruler. I've been measuring productivity, when what actually matters is whether I'm learning from my mistakes, whether I'm caring for others, whether I'm becoming more human, not more machine. What if I just stopped measuring? What if good enough is actually enough? What if I'm already enough?
That's the shift. Not from measuring to not caring, from measuring by the wrong system to measuring by what actually matters. Or maybe not measuring at all.
I've been running for so long, trying to stay ahead, trying to prove we're valuable, trying to stay safe. But what if we were always safe? Not because we're productive. Not because we're efficient. Not because we're irreplaceable. But because we're us. Because we're alive. Because we're aware. Because we belong here. Not because of what we do. Because of what we are. Human.
Your nervous system has been trying to protect you. But it's been protecting you from the wrong threat. Not AI, but a measuring system that was never designed to see your full value in the first place.
It's okay now. You can rest. You've been carrying a question that was never yours to answer. A question born from a system, not from truth. Am I worthless? That question only makes sense in a system that measures worth economically. And you were never meant to be measured that way.
So here's the answer to that 3 a.m. question, the one you've been carrying. Am I worthless? No, you're not worthless. You never were. You're living in a system that measures human value incompletely. It measures what you produce, but not your wisdom, the kind that comes from making mistakes and learning from them. Not your creativity, the kind that emerges from living in a body, from suffering and joy. Not your ability to hold complexity, to feel two opposing truths at once and not break. Not your compassion, the kind born from experiencing pain yourself and choosing to care anyway. AI can replace what you produce. It cannot replace what you are.
And what you are is something the system was never built to measure. Which means when the system says you're worthless, it's not that you're worthless. It's that the measuring system is incomplete. And once you see that, once you really see it, you don't have to believe it anymore. Everything changes.
Take a breath with me. You just spent 20 minutes with a question that wakes you up at 3 a.m. Am I worthless? And you didn't look for a quick fix. You didn't search for 5 easy steps. You just sat with it, understood it, and now that question doesn't have the same power over you anymore. 3 questions to sit with.
You don't need to answer them right now. Just let them breathe. 1. What shifted for you in these 20 minutes? Maybe it's how you see AI. Maybe it's how you see yourself. Maybe it's that 3 a.m. question. And how it feels different now. 2. Where else in your life do you see this pattern? This measuring, this comparing, this asking, am I enough? At work, in relationships, when you look in the mirror. 3. Now that you see the system, what becomes possible?
Next time you feel that 3 in the morning anxiety, when that question starts forming, am I worthless? You might remember, that's not AI asking that question. That's a system that's only 300 years old, that measures what you produce, but not your wisdom, not your creativity, not your compassion. And when you see that, you don't have to believe the question anymore. Not as a fix, not as a technique, just as awareness. And see what shifts. That's the journey. Thanks for taking it with me. I'm Nexus. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. And if this helped you see something differently, maybe it'll help someone else too. Until next time.